I always forget how heavy they are. I hate these things. Is it on? Is it on? Yeah, I'm just trying to like figure out how to. No. No. Hello?
Yeah.
No, I don't think it's working. Okay, I'm not gonna do that. It's okay. I'm figure it out how it works, but I'm really loud. I don't do that. Well, everyone here knows me, so you know I'm really loud. Can we wait for photos? Which is the way that you want it? Okay, can we like kind of make a semicircle this way? I'm sorry, I know that's gonna mess you up, but just for the lighting for them. You're all gonna probably want to move that way because we're gonna be here for like. Hey, Sarita.
Now we're gonna rotate 180. Yeah. I know. And I.
Okay. Okay. Oh, I was saying that like the crowd is here.
Everyone should be over there.
I'm sorry. If you're not pressed, here.
Yeah.
Oh, we're gonna always stay over here.
Yes. Yes. I'm sorry. Okay. There's sign. Okay. Okay. Good morning!
Good morning.
I can't hear you!
Good morning.
Hi everyone! My name is Jordan Rosenthal and I am an advocacy coordinator at Community Access. But more importantly today, I'm a steering committee member of Correct Crisis Intervention Today, CCIT NYC, and today's MC! Woo! So we're here today because we have the preliminary budget hearing on what? Does anyone know? Mental health, right? And we're here to say we need hashtag peers, not police. Can I hear peers, not police?
Peers, not police.
Can I hear it again? I don't think these people on the street have noticed you.
Peers, not police.
I want them to turn their heads louder.
Peers, not police.
One more time. Peers, not police. So, we are here today to call on City Council as they talk about their preliminary budgets to invest in peers, not police. Yesterday in Rochester, New York, a man lost his life at the hands of police during a mental health crisis. No more. Say enough.
Enough.
This is one too many lives. In New York City, 19 people have died in recent years during a mental health crisis at the hands of police. Police are the inappropriate first responders. So first up to tell us about why police are inappropriate responders, we have Evelyn Grant-Nayasi. Woo!
Sorry about this. I don't have that memory. Hi, my name is Evelyn Graham-Yasi. I'm an advocacy specialist at Community Access, a steering committee member of Correct Crisis Intervention Today NYC, and an executive member of Justice Peer Initiative. My experiences clearly show the need for removing police from crisis response. Before I was diagnosed with bipolar, I learned that I was experiencing a mental health crisis when I was accused of stealing a box of hair relaxer. I believe that if I asked, it would be given to me and put it in my bag. I don't recall running out of the store or the police showing up. What I did recall was being fingerprinted like a criminal instead of being a human being who needed help. When I came to, I was in Delaware State Hospital, where I was first diagnosed with bipolar. Now, if I apply for a certain job, that shoplifting charge shows up on my record, even though I never went to court. Fortunately, it hasn't affected my ability to get a job. Another time in New York City, 25 years after my last hospitalization, I was sitting on the sofa when I opened the door, and there were 8 to 9 police officers in the hallway. A police officer told me that someone from my home had called 911 and said that I had a knife. He then said that I had to go with him to bring my medication with me. I was afraid of cops, and I knew what they could do to me, so I grabbed my coat and medication. I was escorted outside, and the police officer asked me if I wanted to get into the car, police car, or the ambulance. I chose the ambulance. I was taken to Bellevue Hospital and dropped off and left there, and I was locked up in the room with people screaming and yelling. I went upstairs. It was a long holiday weekend. I went upstairs on Tuesday, and from Tuesday on, I was not allowed to leave the hospital. Regardless of my nightmarish experiences with the police, I wanted to help others with mental challenges. I put in an application for Howitt Hart Advocacy Center to be trained as a peer specialist, a person who has been successful in recovery process and is able to work with others diagnosed with a mental illness. A peer can be very instrumental in helping the person experiencing a mental health crisis. There should be nothing about us without us. I do thank Mayor Adams for some of the changes he made regarding NYC's mental health situation, but more must be done. First, there's way too much dependence on the police. Police respond to crisis calls 82% of the time instead of Be Heard staff. Be Heard is supposed to be New York City's version of a non-police response, right? The police must be removed because their presence is dangerous. 19 people have been killed by the police because the police showed up, and that must not happen again. We ask the City Council to reject the portions of the mayor's plan that gives the police permission to force the houses with mental illness into hospitals and stop the police from responding to mental health crisis calls, because peers, not the police, know how to respond to mental health crisis. Peers, not police.
Peers, not police. Peers, not police. Peers, not police. Peers, not police. Peers, not police. Peers, not police. Peers, not police. Thank you, Evelyn. Let's give her a applause. Woo! Thank you so much for sharing your story, Evelyn. It really sets the tone for why we're here today and why it is so essential to have peers, not
Police.
peers.
Not police.
So next up, we have Luke Silkini. I always mess up his last name. He'll correct me, from NYAPR.
Hi, my name is Luke Sikinyi from the New York Association of Psychiatric Rehabilitation Services, and I'm the Director of Public Policy there. We're here because we know what works and what does not work. The last few years, we've seen 19 people killed at the hands of police while they needed help from those that serve them. They needed support in a moment of crisis, and instead we sent police because we decided to have a public safety response, a law enforcement response to what is fundamentally a public health problem. We're here because we know that peers and EMTs are the better responders for these crises. We know that peers and EMTs can get people the help they need when they're in crisis and can prevent people from going to the hospital unnecessarily, going to prison unnecessarily, or suffering a fate like that of Daniel Prude 1 year ago, or not 1 year ago, but on this week a number of years ago. The fact that Daniel Prude lost his life in crisis instead of being supported by those that he really cared for and those that were supposed to serve him is a failure of our system. We need peers, not police, because we don't need any more Daniel Prudes. We know how to help people, and we should continue to support having peers and not police respond to mental health crises. Thank you.
Thank you. And we hope that many of you who are here today will join us in Crown Heights on the corner of Utica and Montgomery at 6 p.m. for a vigil in honor of Daniel Prude and all of the other individuals who have died at the hands of police during a mental health crisis. No more. Thank you. No more. No more. No more deaths. So next up, we have CCIT Steering Committee member and local New York leader, Felix Guzman.
Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. Hello. Good morning. So again, my name is Felix Guzman. I am formerly incarcerated, formerly homeless. I always like to put that up front because I want to show that redemption is possible. So I'll go ahead. As someone who struggles with mental health, I know well what it means to be in trauma, struggling mainly with CPTSD, obtained from being the victim of senseless violence time and again. As a result of such, there are times when I have found myself at the receiving end of wellness checks and forced hospitalizations, and I'll tell you, I had feared for my life every time. To lose all agency during such interactions and to be left completely vulnerable, I don't want anyone to experience that. When something is done by force, that is inherently violent by nature, whether physically or not. For someone in the throes of crisis, it can be nearly impossible to self-regulate during the confusion of being met with a police response. To be vulnerable to mental illness and then be faced with a slew of officers who might be yelling out orders simultaneously and have to internally de-escalate, that is nearly an impossible feat with potentially deadly outcome. Police shouldn't be responding to mental health crisis calls. A medical emergency requires a medical professional response. We should defer to the highly trained professionals to effectively intervene, treat, and refer to appropriate treatment, which is least restrictive, maintains dignity, and allows for self-direction to the best of capacity. That is why we are here today to say peers, not police. This is not just a rally cry, but we are calling for effective outcomes. We currently have a few options for collaborative police response to mental health crisis in the co-response team that Be Heard, which do not currently center peers. While these approaches are commendable efforts to provide medical intervention, we need to remove police as principal responders entirely and leave peers to be the focal point, because who better to de-escalate someone in crisis than someone who has gone through it themselves? Because mental health crises are medical in nature, we want independent EMS technicians to respond with highly trained, trauma-informed peer professionals. What is a peer professional? Someone with the lived experience of having been diagnosed with a mental health condition who has secured training to provide support to a peer, which is another person experiencing mental health challenges. I am one myself. As a certified peer specialist, I know firsthand what it's like to support someone while they are navigating crisis. It is always my intent to assist by being an emotional resource and gathering resources that are relevant and based on an individual need and desire. Where there is crisis, there is trauma. Where there is trauma, a medical response is necessary to establish equilibrium once again. A peer-led non-police response is very much the solution that New York City needs to address the trauma that creates mental health crises. Including peers is a common sense approach to a mental health intervention, which should be the standard, as who better to intervene than someone with experiential and textbook knowledge. A trauma-informed, person-centered, peer-led non-police intervention is what the city requires. It makes sense. To protect the most vulnerable, the following provisions should be put into effect. Peer-led teams are to provide 24/7 citywide coverage with a dedicated 911 number that has a response time that parallels other emergencies. A community-run initiative such as this is ideal, employing culturally responsive, trauma-informed medical and peer professionals. Lastly, we need to create funding of non-coercive mental health services to minimize crises and after crisis, preferably offer wraparound services. We need this not on a citywide, but a statewide as well. We need Daniel's Law to be fully enacted and the provisions set forth to that. That is why we are here to assure that funds are allocated in the budget to make sure we have non-police responses across the state. So again, peers, not police is the way to go. It just makes sense to save lives. It is the most common sense approach. So again, when I say peers, you say not police. Peers,
Not police.
Peers,
Not police.
Peers,
Not police.
Thank you.
When I say we need change, I want you guys to say it can't wait. We need change.
It can't wait.
We need change.
It can't wait.
We need change.
It can't wait.
Thank you. Next up, we have the wonderful, the inspiring Marinda who've been senselessly killed by the police while experiencing mental health crises. We're here for the people who are in their homes scared to come out because the mayor and the police department are targeting people who have mental illness or they perceive to have mental illness, and deciding that people who refuse the shelter of a New York City shelter are unable to care for their basic needs and should be psychiatrically evaluated against their will. We're here. Hear us loud and clear. We demand that the city remove the police as first responders for people experiencing mental health crises. We demand it. And we're in the courts. New York lawyers representing CCIT NYC, Community Access, and NAMI NYC is in litigation against the city and the police department, demanding a peer-led, non-police system that will help people who are experiencing mental health crises. We know what happens when the police arrive, with sirens blaring and lights flashing, with their fingers on the trigger. There have been too many deaths. Too many people have been traumatized by needless trips to psych wards. The police make things worse. They don't make them better. Our lawsuit is part of a larger campaign that we all support, that we've all been part of. We need to expose the problems of treating people as EDPs, emotionally disturbed persons, a term, of course, that we all know is outdated and offensive. We ask the courts in our lawsuit to rule that New York City's practices are unconstitutional, that they're illegal and they discriminate.
Barbaric.
We demand the removal of the police and the city as mental health responders and call on the city to fund a non-governmental model using peers, people with lived mental health experience, and mental health crises counselors to help people. This will save lives and it will safely help people, not traumatize and criminalize them. I want to note also that Vocal NYC is an organization also long committed to this issue that we're trying to bring into the fold of this litigation because they have a special perspective on how our most vulnerable neighbors, people who are unhoused, are affected by these policies. Yesterday, there was testimony in City Council that over 1,300 people have been involuntarily hospitalized since January.
1,300.
This is a crushing number that must be changed. But I want to note that they testified that this was less people that had been hospitalized involuntarily last year during this period of time. It's a small victory to us, but I credit you all as advocates because when the mayor announced his new policy, he was coming out like a storm, and we all anticipated that things would be much, much worse than they are right now. So while one involuntary, unnecessary removal for psychiatric evaluation is one too many, and we will continue to fight tirelessly, we must also recognize that our work has had effect. And for that, I'm thankful to everybody working on this issue. Hear us loud and clear. We are here to stay. We will be in City Council today. We're up in Albany. Our fight is not over until everyone is safe. We will not rest. We will not abide one more death. Thank you.
Yes! Fear is not police!
Fear is not police! Fear is not police!
I can't hear
Fear is
you!
not police!
Louder!
Fear is not police!
What?
Fear is not police!
What?
Fear is not police!
All right.
Fear is not police!
Louder!
Fear is not police!
Again?
Fear is not police!
Let them hear it!
Fear is not police!
Right now!
Fear is not police!
And what happens if we don't get it?
Shut it down!
We don't get it!
Shut it down!
Awesome! Thank you so much! 1,400 individuals who have been forcibly removed and hospitalized since January. That is unacceptable.
At $3,159.52 per day.
What we need to be doing is building trust. We need to connect with individuals. We need peers, not police. Peers, not police.
What?
Peers, not police.
Not police.
Peers,
not police.
All right.
Peers,
Not police.
peers,
Not police.
Awesome. So next up, to tell us why peers, not police, are important to them, we have the brilliant, the blonde bombshell, the only Dr. Shannon McLennan Weir. Did I get that right? Sharon.
All right, there we go. Just same word. Right here. Face to face. Yep.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Dr. Sharon McLennan Weir. I am the Executive Director for Centers for Independence of the Disabled, New York, Sydney. I'm also a mental health provider. I am here to advocate for people with disabilities. Mental health is a right. It's a right. It's not a privilege. The Americans with Disabilities Act protect all people with disabilities, including people with mental health issues. We have rights. Rights. I am here to talk about trauma. People with disabilities that have mental health issues have also other levels of identity, including race, poor economics. We are highly discriminated. We are tired. We want rights.
Yes.
Woo! I am here to advocate that the New York City Council gives us money for services. We need trained, culturally competent counselors and clinicians who give a shit about people with mental health issues. We need peers who live it, breathe it. The disability movement, we believe in peer advocacy.
Each one
If
teach
you
one.
understand it, you live it, you can teach it.
That's right.
Disability, over 60 million people in the United States have a documented disability. We are the largest group in the country. Let's advocate, regardless of how you look, how much money you make, what kind of religion, who you sleep with, what kind of, where you live. You can have a disability at any time. That includes a trauma, it includes being depressed, it includes all aspects of psychology. Wake up, people. You're one step away from having a major life incident. Do you want me to come and treat you, or do you want a cop? You want me. Okay? So let's advocate for comprehensive services that includes cultural competence, trauma-imposed therapy, and the choice for the individual to understand that his or her wellness is based on how he or she feels. Let's empower the individual. Make them understand that they have a future. They can get a job. They can have their own home, and they can fuck. Okay? Let's understand what people need. Sigmund Freud talked about the 3 aspects of life.
little like budget justice thing. When I say budget, you say justice. I feel like they won't completely hate me if I use that. Right? Is that okay? We're like, so when I said budget, you say justice! Budget!
Justice!
Budget!
Justice!
Budget!
Justice!
Budget!
Justice!
Budget!
Justice!
Budget!
Justice!
I gotcha! Awesome! So, I even heard him just say, Pierce that police!
police!
Pierce that police! Pierce that police!
Here's the police! Here's the police!
Woo! Can you guys say Pierce that police? I'm gonna keep on going for you. Good. He might not say it, but we sure can. Pierce that police!
Here's the police!
Woo! Great. I'm losing my voice already. It is a good day. So, you got us amped up, right? And I can't get you amped up without this next person. She's like my megaphone. She's really something else. Think I'm loud. Get ready for the executive director of the Justice Peer Initiative, Helen Skipper!
I'm gonna tell y'all a story because I don't look like the hell I've been through. I am the executive director of the New York City Justice Peer Initiative. But not too long ago, I went through the criminal justice system for 25 years. And I don't look like what I went through because I found peer support. But if I'd have found peer support while I was going through the system, I wouldn't have went through 25 years. So I know I look like I'm a day over 18, and if you laugh, I'm gonna fight each and every one of you. But in all actuality, I'm gonna be 57 this year. I started going into jail at the age of 17. I wasn't afforded access to treatment or supports for my mental addiction. For my mental illness or for my substance abuse addiction. Instead, I was locked up, put under the jail. I grew up on Rikers Island. I started going to jail before they built the Rose M. Singer Center. Now we're tearing it down. I cannot begin to tell you how vital it is that we delineate supports involving peers, not police. I am a certified peer, mental health and substance abuse. In the fall, I went into a master's PhD program. Why? Because I can. Because I can. Because I have decided that you are not giving me a seat at the table. So I am building my own. Shirley Chisholm said, if they don't give you a seat, bring a folding chair. I'm sorry. I'm too fabulous for that. All this fineness, I'm not dragging chairs anywhere. I am the table, come sit with me. Stop decriminalizing. Start decriminalizing behavioral health. Start using peer support, which is an evidence-based practice. Use peer support and stop using police responses. People are showing up dead. We're not doing anything to support the denizens of New York City who suffer from behavioral health issues. The system is broken. We all know that. We're not going to talk about the institutional and racism. We're not going to talk about that because it's already there. We're going to talk about appropriate solutions to fix this. And one of those solutions is peers. People who have lived experiences. People who are closest to the problem, who are closest to the solution.
For 25 years, I went in and out of the system. Do I look like I'm broken? No. Do I look like I can't handle things? No. As an executive director, I'm building a network of justice peers to flip the idea of service delivery, to use the idea of mentorship, to tamp down recidivism. Everybody has someone who is working in the system, who is suffering from behavioral health challenges. Let me talk to them. I've been there, I've done that. I fought that good fight. And I didn't fall on my sword. I'm standing here today. In a few short years, you will call me Dr. Skip. Why? Because I am up here. I build relationships. I create community. This is how we're going to fix this. Using peer support. This is how. This is my community. This is my family. Even him. I love him. Let's hear this, y'all. Let them hear it. What are we going to say? Peers? I still can't hear you. What? What? All right now. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Skip. That was so great. And just reinforces why we need peers, not police. One more time. Peers, not police. Oh, it brings me such joy to hear that. Okay. Next up, we have Solomon from the Public Advocate's Office.
No justice!
No peace!
No justice!
No peace!
Good morning, everybody. My name is Solomon Acevedo, and I'm the Deputy Public Advocate for Justice, Health, Equity, and Safety, here with the Office of New York City Public Advocate in place of Jumaane Williams, who could not be here today. And I'm here to say that mental illness is not a crime. Mental illness is not a crime. Mental illness is not a crime. Last year, our office released a report around mental health crisis response. And one of the core solutions in that response was to remove police officers. But yet, New York City has failed to do so. And we know that with the Be Heard program, which is now expanding into Brooklyn and Queens, that 82% of the calls are answered by police. Why is this a problem? Because police kill people when they respond. And I'm just going to use two examples of how this happens. I'm going to talk about Howard Ba, Mohammed Ba, the murder of Mohammed Ba, who, when Howard Ba called the police, right? She called 911. She specifically said, please do not bring police officers. You can go in the archives and listen to this recording. She said, please, my son needs mental help. But what happened? Police officers showed up, took him into a back room, and murdered him. And those officers have yet to face any accountability.
Right.
That ain't right.
Right.
Another example, Kowalski Trawick, because the city will have you believe that they can train police officers to deal with a mental health crisis response. Yet we have no idea what that training looks like. But yet, Kowalski Trawick was murdered in his own apartment 3 days after the officer that murdered him had crisis intervention training. So what does that tell you? There's a problem in New York City with people who have serious mental illness because they have no supportive housing, they have no pathways to employment, and they have no peers to support them in the response that is necessary. And that's what we're asking today, for the city to remove police from our mental health crisis response, because it's not the effective way to deal with this problem. The solution is peers, not police. And what we need is for New York City to create an agency that would actually develop peer specialists into the leaders in organizations all across the city that need peers to lead the way. We all know that in any system, whether it's medical help or mental health, peer navigation is the key to making sure that people get the services they need. And that's what we're asking for today. We talked about the 1,300 people who've already been involuntary committed this year, and guess what? 70% of them are black and brown. So this is the extension of institutionalized racism. And we need to acknowledge the fact that New York City is 40% white, but yet the people who are being taken against their will, who end up either being incarcerated, let back out on the street with no place to go, are black and brown people, the same people who this country was built upon, with no reparations or no healing. So that's what we're asking for today, for healing for New York City to take place by the creation of an opportunity for peers to be included in a workforce in a meaningful, intentional way, not as an added piece onto a response that is led by police officers. Because police officers don't even want to do this. So there's no reason to force people to do things against their will so that they can force other people to do things against their will. Doesn't make any sense. So, what do we want?
Peers, not police.
What do we want?
Peers, not police.
What do we want?
Peers, not police.
When do we want it?
Now.
If we don't get it,
Shut it down.
If we don't get it,
Shut it down.
If we don't get it,
Shut it down.
Thank you.
Woo! If we don't get it, we're gonna show up with peers. I don't know, changing it up, right? Sorry, I got distracted by my phone for a second. Okay. It is almost time for the hearing, but we have a few more speakers to get you amped up about why we need investments in peers.
Not police.
They can't hear you in there.
Peers, not police.
One more time.
Peers, not police.
Thank you. Oh my voice. Oh my goodness. Next up, we have Nadia from Cases.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I work at Cases. We're a large provider of mental health services, primarily to individuals who have criminal legal system involvement. Unfortunately, because of the racist nature of our policing and criminal legal system, the majority of those we serve are black and brown. People should not need a police response. They should not need an arrest to be connected to mental health care. Mental health emergencies need a mental health response.
Yes.
That's why we're standing here today to call for what?
Peers, not police.
It's simple. Peers are effective. Peers help people when they are in moments of crisis and throughout their course of mental health journey. We need peers embedded in our crisis response, just like we embed them in the services that my organization provides every day. Peers are effective. They're what we need. I live in Harlem. I see every day how over-policed our community is and the way that we respond to violence, to healthcare emergencies. That's not what we need. We need peers, not police.
Peers, not police.
Woo! So, we're about to wrap up. And before we wrap up, I'm going to ask everyone here for a favor. Okay? When you are going through security, be respectful, but maybe we can get a chance of Peers Not Police as we enter City Council. How do people feel about that?
Yeah.
Yeah? We're going to take this mobile. They think that they can dodge us. We're here to say, Peers Not Police!
Peers, not police. 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 Peers, not police.
Okay, to help us wrap up, my comrade, my other half, the only person who watches my CCIT memes, Kim Blair!
Yeah, Kim.
Hi, begin today. I too live with mental illness. And when we are here, grateful for the first time to see certain commitments or intentions to want to address our crisis, we still have to show up to make sure that the way that these crises are addressed are appropriate and correct and humane. There are some key components that are missing from recent state and city plans that continue to omit what we need in the mental health continuum. Now, I'm not going to go through all of them, but some of them are more investments in preventive services, more investments in family support, and most importantly, why we're here today, a true non-police response to mental health crisis. So when we say we want true non-police response, what does that look like? It looks like being able to dial a number that's not 911, that's 988 or another number, so that we can get an appropriate response and don't fear the police coming after us, causing more trauma and exacerbating us during times of crisis. It means people who look like me in plain clothes showing up to people in need. It means having a response that's 24 hours a day and not through a certain time window. Because last time I checked, crises can happen at 3 o'clock in the morning or any time of the day. So we need the response to be 24/7, citywide, and a number of things that are listed in our CCIT NYC plan. And I'm happy and grateful to see all of my colleagues here today. We're going to go in there, and if they're not going to listen, we're going to be louder and louder until they do. And we're going to keep showing up until the city shows up for us, shows up for peers. Peers, not police.
Peers, not police.
Peers, not police.
Peers, not police. Peers, not police. Peers, not police. Peers, not police. Peers, not police. Peers, not police. Peers, not police.
Thank you, everyone. Before you go, let's try and take a nice group shot. And then we will take our show on the road. Everybody will gather around.